Hi everyone. This is our last video for chapter 4, and most of the material I'm going to be talking about right now are things that sometimes we cover in lab, but since we don't have lab this week, I thought I'd put this in lecture. Again, if you're going to take a more advanced anatomy class, all of this information is going to be important for that, and it will actually become more complex and build on it. So this is pretty foundational information about the human body and the organ systems. So we're into what are the organ systems and a little bit about body cavities. I'm going to skip body membranes, not because it's not important, but just because I can only give you so much each week, and this is where I'm going to draw the line. So first thing I want to talk about is just the definition of an organ, and probably anybody, even a little kid, could give you an example of organs in the body. But as far as when we're talking about anatomically, remember we started off with the levels of complexity, and we said the all matter is made of atoms. Atoms come together and make molecules. Molecules come together and make we can look at our 4 major groups of organic molecules, but they're important for building living things. And our smallest living organism can be a cell. And so groups of cells working together form tissues. And now we're at the level there we said groups of tissues can work together to perform a common function in the form of an organ. So organs are made of more than one tissue type. Remember, we have 4 tissue types. And so organs are made of more than one tissue type. And when you look at organs, organs have distinct shapes and distinct functions. Now, this is different than the organelles that we saw inside of cells. So organelles are subcellular components, whereas the organs are much larger structures in the human body. So organs that work together, so it says organs with similar functions, which in turn are working together, form what we call organ systems. And so what you need to do, and you probably can do it before you even took this class, at least get most of them, is name all the organ systems of the human body and their major functions. So this section here is talking about that you should be able to name the integumentary system. Let me make this a little bit smaller so I can get it on here. There we go. The integumentary system, which is the skin. And actually, I think that they throw the glands in there too. But the skin protects the body. Oh, no, they don't throw the glands. I'm thinking of the exocrine glands. Let's not go there. But integumentary, mostly the skin protects the body, helps the body maintain temperature. You can imagine that, it's got other important things like sensory input, and helps us make some vitamins. Cardiovascular system, that's our blood, our heart and our blood vessels, and we're going to talk a lot more about that. But again, got some major importance in transporting nutrients and waste. Also helps us maintain temperature, pH. Lymphatic system and immune systems. Usually they kind of lump lymphatic with immune because the lymphatic system is so critical to our immune system, and it houses the immune cells, or at least it helps make the immune cells, and helps clean the body of pathogens. So it's going to help defend us against infectious disease, and also helps us maintain our fluid levels. Digestive system helps us obviously digest food and absorb nutrients. Respiratory system brings in oxygen, helps us release carbon dioxide. Now, and then the urinary system helps us get rid of metabolic waste, which are the chemicals that are produced. So the digestive system is going to help us get rid of solid waste, and the urinary system helps us get rid of metabolic waste, which is, the urea and other chemicals that we're trying to get out of our body. We only need these organ systems because we're a multicellular organism. And when you grow to be relatively large and you have you're a multicellular organism, you've got to have ways to keep the body environment constant and help the body communicate from one part of the body to another. So all these systems are kind of working together to keep that whole organism functioning as one unit. The next organ system we have is a skeletal system, and obviously that's composed of mostly of the bones and supporting tissues, and helps us move, stores minerals, produces blood cells. Muscular system helps us move, provides posture, helps us produce heat. One of the best ways to get warm if you're sitting there being chilly is get up and do some movement. Contracting the muscles helps us move, helps us generate heat. The nervous system, it's a major communicating part of our body, allows one part of our body to communicate with the other, receives processes, stores sensory input, and provides motor output. And finally, the endocrine system, which is the other major communicating part of one of our organ systems. Nervous system communicates very quickly by the use of electrical signals, whereas the endocrine system communicates a little bit more slowly with the use of chemicals from the glands. And so that's why all the glands are highlighted here. And there's a couple glands in the brain. Last one, reproductive system, allows us to continue on as a species, so helps us reproduce. And so what you should be able to do is name those organ systems and their major function. The other thing I'd like you to be able to do is identify the body cavities. And so this diagram is really what you need. The two major, if we're going to do start with the two most general, we have the dorsal cavity. Remember, like the dorsal fin of a fish is the back. So the dorsal cavity, and then the one in the front is the ventral cavity. So the dorsal cavity contains the cranial cavity, which contains the brain, and the space that contains the spinal cord called the vertebral cavity. The ventral cavity contains the chest cavity, which is called the thoracic cavity. The thoracic cavity has the heart, the lungs, the esophagus. And then we go a little bit more inferior. We get past the diaphragm, which is the muscle that helps us breathe, and it's between the thoracic and the abdominal cavity. And the abdominal cavity has all those abdominal organs, the stomach, liver, spleen, pancreas, gallbladder, intestines. Now, the abdominal and the pelvic cavities are actually one big cavity, and some people will call it the abdominal pelvic cavity, which is an acceptable term. But they're kind of two regions within the same cavity. The pelvic cavity, kind of, if you put your hands on your hip bones, it's kind of that boundary between your hip bones and more superior is where the pelvic cavity begins. So the pelvic cavity is going to have the reproductive organs, a little bit of digestive organs in there, and loop down into there, but mostly the reproductive organs. So make sure you know those. The next picture is talking about, it's just showing you those cavities in a little bit different angle. And it also highlights these membranes, which I'm not going to ask you to know, but you will know if you take PAP. So there you go. The first two questions should be good practice for you. Good luck.